This is The Party with Serene
and Pearl.
Get it right, Poddy.
Hey, we are so excited because we have Jay Campbell here today, and Serena and I, we're kind of a little bit nerdy fans in the background of his books, his website, his story actually is super phenomenal. We call him the father of peptides. I don't know if you're okay with that, Jay.
That's awesome. I'll take it. I received that. Thank you
We
so
won't
much.
tell Dr. Seeds.
No.
Well, he and I are good friends, so we could fight it out and stuff like that. But actually, him and I are very good friends, so he'll laugh at that.
Hey, Serene, read Jay's illustrious bio before we get.
Jay Campbell is a 5-time international best-selling author, men's physique champion, and founder of the Jay Campbell brand and podcast. I've been binge listening to your podcast, Jay. He's recognized as one of the world's leading experts on hormonal optimization, and therapeutic peptides. Jay has dedicated his life to teaching men and women how to fully optimize their health. That word optimize, that is one of our favorite terms. So we're going to, get your brain involved about that. But he is the author, too. His newest book is The 30 Days to Shreds, a scientific dissertation on how to use the latest and greatest peptides to dramatically reduce body fat in the context of health and longevity. Jay has been successfully using therapeutic testosterone for more than 2 decades, since the age of 29, and therapeutic peptides since 2004.
Wow.
One of Jay's primary passions is teaching men and women how to transform their lives. That's what we're all about. That's why the butterfly with the metamorphosis was kind of our mascot. By using therapeutic testosterone and peptides in the context of long-term health and happiness. So, he also has a book. He wrote the TOT, but was that part of this?
Yeah, no, the TOT.
It's not part of that.
That actually, your TOT, right? Am I right about this, Jay? And he's Jay Campbell, by the way, and we're Campbell's that's our maiden name, so we are cousins.
Once we skipped across the Highlands altogether.
Yeah.
That's right.
Your book, TOT Bible, right? That has been the most read book on testosterone therapy of all time. Am I correct?
That is
Okay.
correct.
I actually haven't read it. I have to go out and get it. As soon as we finish here, I'm ordering it.
It's 663 pages, so
But
that's
we
why we call it
get
the
that.
Bible.
No wonder we're cousins, because our first book was 600 and how many pages, Pearl?
Yes, 670. Our next book's about the same.
Everybody said to us, girls, it will never sell. And we're
Right.
like, we don't care. We have to put every bit of
That's right.
nerdy information in there.
But
That's
it did
awesome.
sell. But hey, I wanted to hear, we're speaking about testosterone. We want to get to peptides because our crowd, our tribe of women, they're just starting to be immersed in the peptide world, and we're kind of bringing them along with our journey. But I want to start with your journey. I just read a little bit about it, but you said you've been on testosterone since you were in your late 20s. What happened and why so early, and what's your story?
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, first off, to your audience, hello. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today to speak to all of you guys and you ladies, and of course, both of you two. I'm very grateful to be here. I was literally just doing a video sales letter that was going over my story, which is kind of perfectly apropos to answering the question. But I'll give you a very high level summary. At 29, I was playing in a very competitive men's open basketball league in Southern California in Los Angeles. I got kicked in the testicles. Hopefully that's not too.
No, we can say testicles.
vulgar.
It's all good. It's all good.
Right. But I went out, I checked myself out of the game. And, again, in a very high level summary story of this, over 4 or 5 weeks later, I started feeling run down. My body was absolutely destroyed. At the time, I was working as a automotive classified sales rep for the Los Angeles Times, and my benefits, gave me a PPO doctor. So I went to this guy, and again, I always like to say there's no coincidence. There's only synchronicities in the universe. And he recommended me to a endocrinologist. And again, this is in 1999. I was 20, almost 30. I was about a month from turning 30. And I went to this endocrinologist who happened to be, at the time, a very world-class, Harvard-educated endocrinologist. And he took my blood panels. And again, remember, this is in 1999. It was very rare for this to happen. But again, this is obviously a very synchronistic thing. And he said, look, you have the lab values of a hypogonadal man, but an older man, call him a geriatric in the 80s and 90s. And I can put you on a course of therapeutic testosterone and get you back to normal. But before we do that, go home and talk to your wife. And at the time I was engaged to my first wife. Shout out to Kelly. She is long past, but we're still friends. And she said, you're a smart guy. Let's see what happens. So I started taking therapeutic testosterone. And just as he explained it exactly, like 8 weeks later, I felt absolutely amazing. I mean, I went from like feeling, a healthy and shaped guy to like transformed. And he wanted to take me off after the 8 weeks. And I was like, absolutely not. There's no way I'm ever coming off of this. This is the most profound thing I've ever experienced. And he's like, okay, well, you got to do this and you're going to be on this for the rest of your life and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no problem. So then I became, obviously now I'm 30 and I became just a very studious person in understanding hormone optimization. And over the next 10 years of doing this, when people would meet me, because obviously I'm pretty impressive physically, I take really great care of myself. They would ask me, they're like, wow, how do you look the way you look? And I would just very no filter tell them to their face, I'm using therapeutic testosterone. And it was only, one of two answers. People would be like, ooh, you're on steroids, or it was like, that's fascinating. Tell me more. Yeah. So the people that were like fascinating, tell me more, eventually got me, really, I was like 11, 12 years later to say, you got to write a book on this. I'm 41, 42 at this point. And I was kind of like, what? I'm not I have no medical background. I mean, I do have a molecular biology minor in college and stuff like that. And I'm a nerdish person. I studied this, but I don't have a medical license. And so I asked, who's now a good friend of mine, Rick Collins, way back then, he does podcasts with me now on Wednesday nights, which is actually hilarious. But I asked him as a nobody, I was like, hey, if a non-medical licensed person writes a book on therapeutic testosterone, what are the risks? And being an attorney and being a very educated guy, he said, well, there's always risks. So at that time, I was with my current wife right now, Monica. Shout outs to Monica, amazing woman.
Hi, Monica.
You guys love Monica. She's an amazing woman.
I like her pictures.
She's truly an amazing woman. She's helped raise my two children, and she's raised her three biologicals, and she's just an amazing woman. And she's my spiritual mentor. But in truth, she was like, thinking about our real estate business at the time, I was like, what, I'm going to shelve this. I'm not going to write this book. Because when I had sent the email to him, I also sent him a white paper of my book, and it was, probably 15 or 16 pages. And he was very impressed by it because he got back to me right away. But I also sent it to a person by the name of Nelson Virgil, who had written the only book in the world on using therapeutic testosterone at the time. And it was called Testosterone, A Man's Guide. But Nelson wrote the book in dealing with at the time when he got the sentence, which was considered a death sentence, HIV. And so he and other people, men in his situation, were using therapeutic testosterone along with other things to, maintain living. And so when he read my white paper, it was 4 months later after I had shelved it. And he was like, I don't know who you are, but this is profound. You have to put this message out to humans. Here's my number. Call me. And so, as I like to say, stepping on the shoulders of giants, he helped me write the first book. It should have come out in 2014, but him helping me and dealing with a couple of different publishers, I finally published it in November of 2015. And then fast forward to now, I've just been very blessed to meet a lot of amazing people such as yourselves, physicians, researchers, scientists, and I've written 7 other books, and they're all, along the lines of like health optimization, fasting.
I love that word, optimization.
Fat loss.
I love it.
Hey, did you? So
it's funny because in my first book, the book that we're talking about before this book, which you guys are talking about, is the TOT Bible. The first book came out in 2015. It was called the Definitive TRT Manual, and the Bible was a massive upgrade over that book. But it was still, the first book was still a good book. But yeah, I was using that word and coining that word. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to patented or trademarked this, because now everyone says optimization.
I know. But we didn't know we stole it from you, but we definitely stole it.
We must have stole it from you.
But when
I
you got,
literally have been using the word optimization since 2014. Everybody knows. But again, just to fast forward, here I am doing amazing podcasts with people such as yourselves, and I get a chance to talk about all these amazing things in the health optimization realm. And very truthfully, now my biggest jam is spirituality, and I'm writing a book right now called Essential Alchemy. And that is going to literally be my, I would say, magnum opus when and if I get it published in this year. And the goal is to have it published before summer of this year. And then I don't see myself writing any more books, because
we have always said, that's what we've always said. Every time we write a big book, one of those 600-page books, we're like, never again. We're done. We're done. We're so done writing. And
And
then
then
Next
2 years
minute-
later, the
yeah.
itch comes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
yes. No,
yes,
but
yes.
you got to share. Like when you learn things, you can't hold it in because you're like, this is going to help people. Hey, but when you got kicked in the, we can say it, testicles, balls, whatever, was that like the clinch that hurt you? Yeah, because like a lot of men, my husband, he was 50 and he was like, we talked before this podcast started and you're like, a lot of women get their men on T because they can't live with anymore. It's like grumpy old man situation, right?
Yeah.
And my husband, his whole personality had changed. I didn't know who he was anymore. He didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Testosterone saved his life. It saved our marriage.
he had a pituitary tumor.
He did. It was kind of making too much prolactin as well. But yours was an accident, yeah. I mean, mostly when do you see men start to decline in their testosterone?
Well,
You mean naturally,
now,
Pearl?
Yeah, naturally.
yeah, I mean, now it's in their 20s. I mean, it's
Really?
it's the environment. So the easiest way to answer this, and again, I talk about this literally on like every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on my YouTube channel. I have what is called the Health Optimization Doctors Roundtable, and it's like 3 of the best doctors literally in the entire world in talking about this stuff. And so we talk about these, and this is one of the biggest topics or questions of discussion is why is this happening? And it's environmental. I mean, I could go way more scientific and get into like testosterone resistance syndrome, but basically what is happening is our environment, as you guys and gals know, is so environmentally, we're so contaminated from particulates, plastics, phytoestrogens, BPA, endocrine disrupting chemicals, you name it, from just modernized living, that male and female hormonal health and endocrine systems are just destroyed. And so the average person living today in first world, especially in the United States or the UK or any major, first world city or urban population center, is being just decimated by contaminants and particulates in the atmosphere, blue light from the screens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so bad. So it's like,
Do you have special glasses on right now?
I do, of course.
To
I
protect
always
you
wear
from
my
the
blue
blue light?
glasses. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always wear my blue light glasses, but it's so bad. Like, one of the things I talk about now too when I lecture is like, not only do you have to wear this kind of stuff and optimize your hormones and obviously make, very conscious decision to eat correctly, you also have to have transmutive technologies in your house to disable 5G and 6G frequencies, because those are putting out such dirty Wi-Fi electromagnetics in the field. Those also harm biological system function.
And would you think that would be to the estradiol levels of women as well? I mean, it's not just testosterone.
It's
with
not,
men.
yeah, it's all things. I mean, you have younger now, and look, the real answer when you ask the really smart people who are actually willing to go on record and talk about this is birth control in the water supply has decimated endocrine system functioning. In fact, it's a fact, and you can, talk to people like Dr. Anthony Jay, who used to be the Mayo Clinic researcher, but now he's just kind of on his own. They threw him out because he was so honest and forthright. But if you take a male fish, and you put it in any freshwater tributary, stream, aqueduct, or fresh lake or water tributary in the United States or even Canada, within 1 year, it becomes a female fish. So that is how estrogenized and, again, contaminated the water systems are in, again, first world North America. And so all you have to do is just extrapolate that data to just male and female health and hormonal health. And so you're seeing a massive decline in male testosterone and also fertility. I don't know how many friends you guys have that are younger who are trying to get pregnant. We've never had a lower birth rate in the United States. Almost all men and women that are in their late 30s in most first world cities are on fertility medications.
Right.
It's incredible.
And having a lot of miscarriages and things. And you think about it too, if it's the contaminated water supply with those synthetic hormones, affecting us, what about the people that are actually taking them in their concentrated form? Those synthetic progestins.
Horrible.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, but Serena and I are literally going to fight over who gets the questions for you,
No
because
problem.
we've both got our list, and I'm going first. I'm the big sister. I get precedent. Okay, so I want to ask you this. In your latest book, I've been reading that, 30 Days to Shreds. There's a lot of interesting information. I wrote down a lot of quotes, and I would love for you to kind of expand upon it. You talk about precision medicine, and Serena and I are crunchy women, like crunchy, okay, and a lot of our tribe is crunchy. And many of us are loath to use or have been. Serena and I have come to another understanding now. Medicine, and we think of it as Band-Aid, and we think of it, if you got diet and lifestyle right, that's all you need. However, we've realized there's an extra that so many of us can optimize our life with. You call it precision medicine. You said an emerging approach for disease treatment and prevention that takes into account individual variability in genes, environment, and lifestyle for each person. And we're going to talk about peptides today, which I believe is the health and medicine of the future. But what is the difference between what you call precision medicine and just medicine that is caused by inadequate diet and lifestyle? What are you talking about here?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way probably for your audience to understand it, and I didn't coin this term either. Now everybody says it, but sick care medicine or illness medicine is what people have that use insurance benefits for the most part for their average garden variety illnesses. Obviously our mom and dad and that generation, call them boomers, they love to listen to the lab coat God, as I like to say, their doctor, and tell them, because that doctor is the God, right? God. It's the center of their universe.
Yes.
What their doctor says is everything they need to do. And don't even get me going, because like my wife's dad and my own dad are all dealing with that right now. And again, they listen to them. These are like perfectly smart people, well-to-do people. But when the doctor tells them something, everything goes out the window, because what the doctor tells them is the truth. But to answer your question, illness/sickness medicine is literally treating and band-aiding the symptoms, whereas precision medicine, or I like to use optimized healthcare, is literally using fundamental regenerative approaches like peptides, like bioregulators, like hormonal optimization to literally treat the root cause. So you're basically band-aiding symptoms, which is like accepted, healthcare, allopathic medicine, versus precision medicine, which is again, looking to fundamentally treat the root cause, which we know we can with these amazing drugs like peptides, bioregulators, and of course, hormone optimization.
And you call them like the peptides, tip of the spear medications. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And can we talk a little bit about the trending peptides that everyone's starting to know about household-wise? The tirzepatide, we call it Terzi, and semaglutide, Sema. We put nicknames for everything, being Australians. But, we got introduced to them at first at a Dr. Seed's Peptide World Congress out there in Las Vegas. And we we didn't even hear about it like a big weight loss craze. It was more for anti-aging, and just being able to stop the inflammation, cardiovascular protection, and all for its health benefits. And now people are just like, it's just a Band-Aid so that you can have weight loss and not, tick all your boxes, of course, which is opposite of what it really is. But I'd love to get your take on it, and especially, can you help decimate those myths out there that it's going to cause, weight gain rebound and the Ozempic butt and drooping face?
Ozempic face and butt and chin and eyes. So you guys are so educated on this. You guys make my life so easy. I love both of you. You're amazing that you're this knowledgeable about this. So 100%, the truth is that when you see physicians and the mainstream talking about all the negative side effects of, again, call them GLP-1 agonists, which are these amazing peptides that obviously suppress appetite, delay gastric emptying, increase glucogen or metabolic response patterning. They are all amazing peptides, but you have to understand they also have to be used within the conjunction of the right instruction to use them correctly. And again, I hate saying this, but because, obviously I'm not a champion of allopathic medicine, but most doctors that understand how to use these things, when they prescribe them, get tremendous results. In fact, again, some of the doctors that I work with, I'll name one person right now, Dr. Rudolph Everwine in South Florida. He's been using GLP-1 agonists for 14 years. So he's actually been using these things before anybody even knew what they were. Yeah. And now obviously they're perfected. You guys talked about tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, semaglutide, which is Wegovy. And now there's other ones coming. They are the most profound medications ever created in the history of medicine. That sounds like a very powerful statement, but it's true when you start looking at the math. In fact, the fast food CEOs now are literally in a panic because they see a lot of their companies in a death spiral now from a profit standpoint, because people who use these drugs are not eating this crappy food anymore, right? Because as you guys know, these things change people at a brain level, right? You have synaptic, dendritic, and dopaminergic pathways, which are, basically brain pathways being rewired to teach people to be more in control, to be less impulsive,
And my
and also
friend
just
is
to
on.
not eat crap.
I know my friend is on one, and she said, Pearl, it's like I couldn't make wise choices before, but now, she's not on too high a dose, which I'm so glad about. She's just on, that first initial dose. She's like,
Sure.
all the cravings have gone away to that. When I'm hungry, when it's time to eat, I can actually make a wise choice.
That's
I
right.
want to talk about what you said, she's on a great dose, because I reading your books and listening to your podcasts. You love that very sound dose of like 2.5 mgs,
Yes.
and not really going up further unless you're extremely insulin resistant. Let's talk about that, because so many people like keeping up with the Joneses. They want to go to the 5 mgs and then beyond even. And that's when it gets crazy. And even like with allopathic medicine, if it's not that we're all for that, but when that would be overdosed, you could die from that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about a little bit of slowing of gastric emptying. I mean, you die from overdosing on allopathic medicine. But just like with peptides, you just got to do sane things with dosing, right? But why do you love 2.5?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, but getting back to the original question of doing this correctly, 90% of physicians do not give their patients the correct instructions. I'll
Right.
get to the dose. I'll get to the dosage in a second. But like, if you are let's just portray the average American adult. We'll use America for now, but it's everywhere. But westernized countries. This is the statistics, by the way, which is frightening, but it's true. 72% of all men and women 40 or older are obese, not fat. Obese, right? So we're talking about, according to the BMI, according to the BMI, which is obviously not a great statistical weighing measurement, but that's what we have.
Yeah.
This is like people that are 25 to 35% body fat, men, and women, it's a little higher. It's like 30 to 40% body fat. Now, remember, women always hold 7 to 10% more internal body fat for childbearing purposes, for evolutionary biologic reasons. So women are always a little bit higher on the body fat measurement scale. But the bottom line is we have a massive problem of obesity in America. And an obese person goes to their general practitioner or their family doctor, their PPO or HMO doctor, and they say, look, what can I do? I'm fat. I want to not be fat. So they write them a script for one of those two drugs, tirzepatide or semaglutide. And then that's where the buck stops. They don't tell them that they have to increase their protein consumption.
Right.
They don't tell them that they have to actually do bone bearing or resistance training. They don't tell them that they have to obviously, also do some form of cardiovascular exercise. So all the things that you and I, and obviously the people that associate with us, understand to be just part of like normal, adaptive reasoning and common sense, they don't know that. Now, compound that with the idea that, as you guys know, or gals know, they work, right? So these obese people stop eating because they are such a profound effect. And then the weight falls off of them, but it's a temporary thing because they're not getting enough protein. They're not training with weights. They're not doing cardiovascular. I mean, there's more stuff that they do. And so, as you know, once they come off or they increase the dose, because obviously after 2 or 3 weeks of not doing the good things, the dosage has to go up because their bodies, the receptors to the peptides or to the GIPs and GLPs become desensitized.
Right.
So they need a higher dose. So that's why you see people going from 2 to 5 to 7 to 10 and even all the way up to like 16 or 15 milligrams, which is, by the way, insane.
Yeah.
If somebody is at that high of a dose. So my personal knowing, I don't even like to use the word belief anymore because I've been using these with obviously people that I work with and myself for 2 years, is you want to start low and go slow.
Yes.
So if you start with a 2.5 milligram dose, again, we're talking about tirzepatide, and you only stay there based on doing all the other things, and then you obviously combine it with like a strategy that's found in my 30 Days to Shreds book, which is obviously every other day or alternate day fasting, you can get tremendous fat loss and results and not screw up your body from a receptor sensitivity standpoint and become addicted to the level of the medication. Because I've seen people, both men and women, use 2.5 milligrams for a year and get profound results. Just as I've seen other people go from 2.5 to 15 or 12 or 16 or whatever, and not do it right and stop taking it and get massive rebound weight gain because, again, they've damaged their thyroid. They've not eaten enough protein. They've ultimately just damaged their metabolism from not doing things correctly.
Metabolically broken. I want to talk to you in your book, your latest book, the guide to, exactly the name, 30 Days Shred. I didn't say it properly.
2 with the number 2.
Sorry.
Shreds with a Z.
Yes, but you talk about how you can get antibody resistant to peptides, and you like to cycle peptides between 8 to 12 weeks on, take an 8 to 12 weeks break, and then get back on so you don't get that, you call it like a lower abdomen edema, like a
exactly
water retention. Now, is that the same for like a GLP-1 agonist, Terza or Sema? Should you take that cyclic break or not necessarily?
Or is that just BPC and others, in which we actually have to discuss what a peptide is? We're jumping ahead, but answer that.
You ladies realize that I don't even have doctors that ask these smarter questions? I mean, these are really amazing questions. I'm really grateful that you're asking this. So the GLP-1s are not going to cause antibody buildup like a GH agonist peptide would. So it's dissimilar, but thought process is right, because again, you don't want to take them for an escalating or a higher titrated dosage over time. So I like telling people, and again, this obviously depends on how much body fat this person has to lose, but an obese person is going to have to use a GLP-1 longer than just call them average, not obese, who just wants to lose 15 to 20 pounds, right? So, and again, the dose escalation is also going to be dependent on the insulin, as you already said earlier, the level of insulin resistance in the person. So I would personally say that if you're an obese person, you should not go higher than 7.5 milligrams on tirzepatide, and you shouldn't even be touching that level until you're 3 months in.
Yes.
Okay. And when I say 3 months in, I mean hardcore, you're actually really doing this correctly. Your goal is to lose, 10 to 15 pounds of body fat per month. Again, by combining fasting, by combining cardiovascular training, by combining resistance training, and again, doing all of the right things, which, as you both know, are completely laid out in that book in a step-by-step fashion. Whether you're a total beginner or very advanced, everything is in that book.
Hey, I was going to say, can we step back? Because some of our listeners may be really new to what even a peptide is.
For sure.
And can you explain it for them and talk about, do you believe peptide medicine or precision medicine that includes peptides is going to be the future?
It already is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
So it's a great question. So what peptides are, basically they're like biomolecules. They're really just fractionated proteins. Most of them are made organically within human tissue right now, right? So we have a ton of these agents that we naturally produce in our body as we get older, depending on our state of health, depending on our biological age, depending on the level of cellular senescence we have, our peptide production slows down. Antibody production builds up. So it just really depends on how clean your lifestyle is, how often you exercise, how often you eat clean. The number one thing that people do to their bodies as we age that really, really ages them is drink alcohol. And then a close second is sugar consumption, right? Because from when you eat sugar, you get, AKGs or glycolated end products, which are the byproducts of sugar breakdown. And those things are terrible for the human digestive system to get rid of. So the more alcohol and sugar that you consume, the faster your biological age increases, or, essentially the faster your cells age. Wow. But peptides, there's so many different peptides. And obviously, we like to track them in my book and, in other places that I talk to them about based on like, what is the system that you're targeting? So for healing, for muscle growth, for fat loss, for cognition enhancement, as you guys know, there's peptides that extend telomeres, right?
Yes.
They regulate telomerase expression. So it actually slows down cellular aging. So there's so many different classifications of peptides, and that's just peptides that we have actually available to us, either through compound pharmacies or research chemicals. Now, to answer your question, Pearl from earlier. I've been using peptides since 2004. And back in 2004, the only way you could get peptides was from research chemical
And I
companies.
don't see any twitches in your eye or like some kind of like weird appendage growing from your ear.
And I've had, actually, it's a great point. I've had, because when people hear about peptides, and again, I was just doing this in this VSL, this video sales letter that I was making, they hear injection and they just opt out.
Yes, that's
Yes.
what happens.
Because needle phobia is like a major thing. And obviously, I have needle phobia when I first started injecting therapeutic testosterone way back in the day. In fact, the true story is when I first got the shot sent to me from my physician, I sat there for like 2 hours and just looked at the needle. And my ex-wife, Kelly, again, shout outs to Kelly. She came by, she was looking at me and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, and she just took it out of my hand and injected it right into my quad and pushed it. And I was like, so
I had the same thing when I started estradiol. I was just like absolutely traumatized. It took me but now I'm like, I look forward to my shot.
That's right. And that's the truth. Like when you realize it doesn't hurt, and it's simple to actually do, it becomes like brushing your teeth. And that's kind of how we teach people on how to do it. But let's face it, and by the way, more men are afraid of needles than women are. That is an absolute true story. But it's mind-blowing how many people just completely opt out mentally when they realize or they hear that they have to inject them versus taking oral. So the perfect segue for that is to talk to you about bioregulators, which we briefly talk about in that book. Obviously, I have a whole bonus chapter in the Peptides book about bioregulators, but bioregulators are for the most part oral capsules. Mm-hmm. So most people will take those. Let's just put it this way. The barrier of entry is far less with bioregulators and peptides because obviously peptides, the highest impact delivery system of peptides is always going to be injection. Now there are peptides that you can take, and I know you ladies know this, for oral, that are oral absorption, but they still won't work as well as injectable peptides. There are also some that are,
sniffing.
You can nasally a mist or what is it? An aerosol. Like an aerosol, right? So it's like, the highest impact is always going to be injection just due to crossing the blood-brain barrier and then also getting into portal circulation. But the oral peptides that do work, for the average person who's watching the show, who's like, I'm not going to inject, but I'll take an oral, or BPC 157, which as you know is the healing peptide. But the
Do you find that that's incredible for the gut taken orally?
I was literally just going to tell you that is the only place that you will actually see real measurable efficacy. Because if you take an oral BPC for a shoulder joint damage or an elbow issue or an ankle issue, or again, a tendon or soft tissue issue, you won't see the profound healing effect that an injection of BPC, combined with TB500, which is thymosin beta, will show. Although some people, as you know, the placebo effect is very real. Yes. So some people who believe that taking that BPC capsule that Sears company formulates, is going to help them, and they'll get some obviously results from that. Because again, the mind is a very, very powerful tool, but always injectable peptides are going to be the highest impact. But just to speak about bioregulators for 1 second, imagine having again, it's classified right now by the U.S. Food and Drug Association as a supplement, but imagine having a oral capsule that literally is tissue specific, targets organ systems, so biological systems and organ systems, and has no side effects. And that's literally what bioregulators are. Now, peptides, very rare side effects. You might get like a flushing, or as you were talking about, like an edema or an irritability at the injection site from just like a rashy spot from, multiple injections in the spot. But both of these medications / drugs / supplements, whatever you want to call them, have very little side effects.
Yeah.
Can I talk about bioregulators for a minute? Because I find them fascinating, and I need to give them another go. I took around for various bodily systems in my body, and I don't experience a lot of placebo. I didn't feel anything. And I thought, well, is it doing something if I'm not feeling anything? Like when I take my estradiol, my testosterone, you bet I feel it, Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm not feeling, should I keep going? What would you say to a person like me?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So for me, I use bioregulators for prostate, right? So I'll be 53 in about 4 months. and not even 4 months. My God, I'll be 53 in 3 months. February 24th. Pisces.
So we are twins. I'll be 53 in February too. Yeah.
What day?
February 11th. Yeah.
That's crazy.
We're cousin
we are
twins. We're
definitely
cousin twins.
mothers from the same cosmic mother. So the reality is that's a great question. I take the prostate one and nothing like noticeable other than I have now been able to sleep longer without having to wake up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. Right now, if you know anything about male prostate growth and BPH and all that stuff, which is benign prostate hypertrophy, almost every man is in their 50s or 60s has a prostate that starts expanding as they get older, right? So it's like it starts weighing against the just call it the connective tissue and the machinery down there, and it just basically makes you have to go to the bathroom, right? So almost every man in their 50s or 60s can't sleep an entire night without having to wake up.
And then it can get so bad, like our dad in his 80s, where it's so large they can't go to the bathroom unless they have a catheter.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I may be that guy at some point in time in my life. I don't know, because I've had to wake up and go to the bathroom since I was 44. Right. So it's almost been 10 years. But I mean, I still sleep well. I mean, I still get a good 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night and stuff like that, but it's just not consistent. But that's normal men who have BPH and stuff like that. But it definitely has helped me in delaying the amount of time it takes before I wake up. So, I mean, other than that, I don't notice anything from them.
What about your PSA? Like you probably keep a track on your PSA. Does it do anything to that?
That's the thing is my PSA is so low.
Oh,
like
really?
It's just, and that's the thing again with prostate. It's funny that we're talking about prostate because I'm actually doing a live stream tomorrow with Clark Bartram, who is like literally probably the world's most famous fitness model of all time. He's a little older than me. I think he's 57 or 58. And he was just diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Okay.
And so he's like on a mission to like really get the information out about like how men can treat it, what their options are and stuff like that. And honestly, prostate cancer is a very misdiagnosed, misunderstood. If you can believe this, and I know you both can, there isn't even a standard of care for men when they get a diagnosis with prostate cancer. So it's a joke.
And
So
I
you-
want to talk.
What do you think about? Sorry,
I want
we're
to
fighting.
No, my turn.
What do you think about testosterone blockers?
See? You took my very question out. You brat.
Yeah, I'm
So
a
I didn't
brat.
hear you. Testosterone for what?
Blockers.
Blockers.
They take testosterone away from men, and they're already feeling crappy because of the cancer.
It's called Lupron. It's called Lupron, and they absolutely suppress testosterone. It's actually, if you undergo that treatment, it's worse than death.
Yes. Yes.
You
and I
would
feel-
rather be dead than than undergoing Lupron. But again, it's just a breakdown in modern medicine. They don't understand. In fact, the truth is, if we switch over to therapeutic hormones right now, Dr. Morgan Taylor, the Harvard-educated endocrinologist who's been like the world's foremost researcher. He's a friend of mine now, of course, too. Shout out to him. He's the guy that turned everything around about the knowledge of prostate cancer and testosterone. They used to think that it was testosterone caused prostate cancer,
Right.
but now they know it's the opposite.
Yes.
A deficiency of testosterone is what is known to cause PCA or basically a metastatic tumor to grow or to connect in that tissue.
And for our listeners, I would
Yes.
love for you to touch on this whole pervasive myth that estrogen causes cancer. And we've had a lot of women that are like, I've got estrogen in my I've got cancer in my family line, my aunt, my mother, blah, blah, blah. And they don't get on optimizing their hormones with therapeutic hormones. And it's sad. They live less thriving because of this fear, but it's not truth.
We know for a fact that estrogen is what confers protection to all biological system functioning. In fact,
Preach it.
if you're using therapeutic testosterone, male or female, and you inhibit estrogen with these horrible drugs, which are obviously women's cancer drugs like Arimidex, which is really called anastrozole, you are actually doing more harm to your biological system functioning than good. Because when you inhibit estrogen, you also inhibit all the good things that quote unquote testosterone exhibits through the aromatase enzyme, which creates estrogen, which is originally estradiol. There's not a single research study ever done in the history of medicine on humans, and again, otherwise healthy humans, that proves that inhibiting estrogen is beneficial. In fact, it's actually the opposite because there are thousands of studies that show when you block estrogen at the tissue level, you create all sorts of negative side effects. Again, negative side effects like bone mineral density, terrible bone mineral density, poor skin, no skin elasticity, massive damage in the brain, massive damage in the vascular network.
Right.
Look, the reason that pro bodybuilders die, it's not because they're getting vaxxed. It's not because they're getting this, that, or their diet is, bad, or they eat too much junk food, or they eat, they take all these anabolic steroids and all this stuff, and they do. But the reason they're dying is because they're blocking their estrogen because of their high dosages of all the stuff they take. And the blocking of the estrogen is literally causing microfissures in the vascular network. So when these guys are 250 to 280 pounds walking around ripped, they move suddenly and they have a myocardial infarction.
Wow.
Hey,
my
and they
husband's
die of a heart
estrogen
attack.
is in the 70s, and his hormone specialist is trained by the wonderful Neil Rosier.
Yeah,
and so
Neil,
she's like, it's
of course.
wonderful. You keep it there. We like the 70s
Well,
for
and my
men.
husband,
There's no too high a level. I see people that have 180 to 200.
Wow.
A very high level pro person in the world, texted me yesterday without mentioning this person's name and said, my estrogen is X. Isn't this too high? I said, no, that's amazing. You're like protected. The smart doctors will say the minimum protective effect, which comes from our good friend, Dr. Neil, is in the 70s. That's the
Okay.
minimum
All
protective
right.
effect.
And it doesn't give ED or anything when the estrogen's high. In fact, it probably...
well, I need to ask you something then, because my husband started testosterone, how old is he? 67. He started when he was 50. So that's 17 years. Now, when he started, right, but when he started, using Arimidex was very, very common. And so to this day, I have nagged him like, hey, don't do it. He's like, but when I don't, I feel lousy. I don't feel good. I've got him to a tiny, tiny dose, much smaller than what he was on. But help my husband. He also feels like he's not as sexually robust if he doesn't take
He also
the
has
Arimidex.
heart issues too.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously I don't know your husband's profile or seen his lab panels or whatever, and I'm obviously just, playing doctor on the internet.
He won't mind. He's totally fine with me saying this.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like most men, we have actually a term of this. Somebody who's been on an AI for a long time have a belief, perseverant dependence on it. So it's more psychosomatic than anything.
Yeah.
So if you could get him to come off of it, you would help his health dramatically, because I'm telling you,
little sugar pill, Pearl, and
they're really bad. They're really, really bad. And the other thing is, and I've talked about this with some other physicians, and we talked about this. The biological age testing companies that are out there right now, like True Diagnostic and GlycanAge, and there's going to be more coming into the field soon. The smart people that work at those companies will tell you that when they get a big enough cross analysis of people through their databases, because they're still in their infancy, they will be able to see that DHT inhibitors, which is dihydrotestosterone, testosterone, for hair, like Propecia, finasteride, and all those, and AIs, which obviously are estrogen blockers, they are actually shortening the telomeres.
Wow.
So they are shortening lifespan 100%. And look, it's very simple. I always tell people this, like, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. If you use a synthetic drug to modulate a God-given biological system, you're going to have harm. There's going to be repercussions. It may not be right now, but it's going to be later. And so those are the perfect drugs, because a lot of men, and again, women use DHT inhibitors too. There's 1 million doctors out there that prescribe DHT inhibitors for women that have hormonal hair loss, which is absolutely ludicrous. I won't even go any deeper than that, but no one should be using DHT inhibitors because of these bad things. I mean, they cause sexual dysfunction, and they also attach to the follicular root in the scalp. So it's like if you stop taking them, then all your hair falls out, because it obviously demonetizes the follicle that has been attached to the DHT thing. But all of these drugs are terrible. They really are cell toxins when you look at them at a very much deeper level. And again, Big Pharma, they block the science about DHT inhibitors, because DHT inhibitor drugs are a multi-billion-dollar a year business.
And I want to talk more about synthetic drugs and just like allopathic medicine, and the fact we've got so many listeners, and they've come along our journey with being the crunchy kind of mums and wanting to do everything natural and clean eating and everything, doing all organic, blah, 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 blah. And it's hard for them to see us kind of like move into this cutting edge science, which has been our hearts all along. But we're trying to say, hey, you got to make your choice, because you can go all our natural, but we're not living in an all our natural age. We're living in an age, like you said, that's just bombarded with these toxins. So we have to do something about it to thrive. Now, we can either choose things that are natural to our body, like the peptides that our body's already biologically making, or hormones, and, replace them when they start to dwindle, or we end up having to take synthetics. We either get on estrogen, which improves our brain space, or we have to get on depression meds. It's like, take your choice. What are you going to do? End up on aspirin for all your aches and pains, or get on estrogen or testosterone, or both.
I mean, there's no option. I mean, I agree with you 100%. You either pick the allopathic Band-Aid sick care opportunity, and look, a lot of this comes down to finances, right? Like the average person, not probably our audiences, but the average person out there is going to say, but Jay, I can only afford what my copay gives me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always say that's not true. And this is kind of, in my community and the world that knows me now, that I'm known by the statement, but I said, look, if you can't afford to spend $2,500 to $10,000 a year on your personal health care, your priorities are backwards.
Right.
There isn't an if, and, or, because I don't care whether you make $50,000 a year or $50,000 a month. Your personal health care is critically important, because there's no doctor out there pouring through your medical records, looking at your stuff, attempting to figure out what you're coming to face. And so the truth is people that say I can only pay $40 a month or $40 for my copay visit, and so I can only get the allopathic, sick care pills. As you both know, when that person experiences a heart attack or some significant, event in their 50s or 60s, most of those people, and again, nobody knows this, but most of those people face medical bankruptcy.
Yes.
So they go down completely. So you can afford to take matters into your own hands. You just have to look at things correctly.
Your turn.
Okay, thanks.
I don't want to let you have the turn, though.
I want to change direction just a little bit, because there's so much we want to talk with you about.
But I want one more question on medicine before you change.
Oh, boy.
No, he liked this question.
Okay.
Listen, because we have so many people that follow us, our tribe, that come to our diet plan because they have insulin resistance, because they have blood sugar issues. And many of them, they want to be all natural. And so they've been prescribed metformin from their doctor, and they feel shameful for taking it, or they don't even fill the script because they're like, I don't want to take medicine. But you love metformin. My husband's on metformin. Tell us why you love it, because you don't even have it for blood sugar issues. You have it for anti-aging benefits. And I would like to clear the name for metformin. Would you help me?
Please do. So obviously, if people put a gun to my head and said, what is one thing that a human can do as they age to insulate themselves to live longer and stronger, I would tell you it's metformin. Now, we've written a 12,000 word article. It's actually been published on Harvard EDU and PubMed and research. It's basically, a deep dive analysis on the merits of metformin. And I will tell you, in that article, because so many people in the clinical community will, attack and say, that's not true, it causes mitochondrial dysfunction or this, that, and the other. I mean, we have literally overcome every single negative remark about metformin in the literature against relatively healthy people. And I will just tell you that it does so many amazing things, all cause extending life, that almost every person starting at really the age of probably 22 to 25, or really, I would even say when you can afford it, because if you're 18 to 20 and you can afford, a $5 a month prescription for metformin. And again, if you're living in some countries, you can just buy it over the counter, right? You go to Mexico, you can buy an unlimited supply.
I'm going to get some next Mexico trip.
You should be on it. And look, the number one reason is because it upregulates Akkermansia.
Yes.
Mucilus.
I read that in your book.
Which is a very, very powerful anti-pathogenic, antivirogenic, agent in the stomach. And so the more of that you have, you can't get sick.
And it's hard to get that. I tried the apple peel powder for years and it didn't raise.
All that stuff is nonsense compared to metformin. And by the way, the other thing, and this is like very nouveau research, is medical grade red light combined with metformin will make your stomach, make your basically your immune system completely immune from dysbiosis. You will not be able to get any kind of sick that originates in the microbiome.
listeners will want to know, what do you like for red light? Because we've discussed red light on our podcast before, and
what do you think of infrared saunas?
Yeah.
So I'll send you guys an article that my podcast, my blog and copywriting team just wrote. We just wrote a 9,000 word article on red light, and this might hopefully doesn't piss off some of your sponsors if you guys are.
We let go all our sponsors, and now we only sponsor ourselves. There you go.
Beautiful. So 94%, that's the statistical mean of red light companies are worthless.
What about Omnilux? That I use it on my face for anti-aging. Is that in the trash or what?
I mean, I don't know. What brand is it?
Omnilux. It's a face mask. You put it on for 10 minutes.
I mean, I would have to look at. So that's the thing is there's a lot of like newer medical grade red light companies that are in the marketplace that I'm not familiar with. So I don't want to just generally trash, but I will definitely tell you this, that almost every known red light provider and manufacturer is a scam.
Well, I want the 4% that's not, please. I'm going to go buy it.
So, I'll tell you, I obviously trifecta. So the lowest cost, highest quality medical grade red light that's out there right now is literally the company that I affiliate for, and they're called Trifecta.
Yeah.
And their bed, they have like a tanning bed.
Okay.
So this is a really high quality bed. And by the way, mine's getting installed tomorrow in the morning. So we're so pumped. But like they're 60 to 70 grand.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. I could
Grant
say.
Cardone sells one. Grant Cardone sells one that's 128,000 in it. That's Medici. But there's like 4 companies that are out there in the public sphere. The other one is called Novocor or Nova or whatever. They do all the U.S. Olympic teams. But I'm not kidding you. When you ladies use the medical grade red light and infrared, near infrared, combined with like, just say a Juve or any of the other big name places out there, you're like, what the hell is going on?
Wow.
Like it's noticeable fat loss. It's notable skin tightening. It's noticeable everything.
Okay, but
it's
what if I don't have 60,000 or 120,000? What if I've got a couple of $1,000? Am I wasting my time buying anything really?
Yeah.
Totally.
So we're going to save and get what? Read your blog. Okay, I don't want to waste my money.
I mean, look, I'm not going to say that there aren't studies out there that some of these companies produce.
Yeah.
But
you reckon studies are pay to play?
Exactly. All studies are pay to play. I mean, that's what I write about in my articles, right? I mean, they're all pay to play. But the thing is like when you use, but I'm all about like, let's walk the walk, talk the talk. Like go and use a Juve and then use a Trifecta, or use a Ultra Slim, or use one of the Chinese red light companies out there. The difference is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get one of the panels, the high end medical grade panels, and you do it for fat loss for 1 week, you can lose 1 inch to 1.5 inches from the fat tissue.
Really?
Wow.
It's unreal.
What if you're already shredded? But what if you're already shredded? Like my husband's pretty thin right now. He doesn't want to lose any body fat. You have a shredded body. What happens if you need body fat and you're losing it because you're in the red light?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like women that want to keep fat in their butt and their hips and stuff like that, and keep those, feminine curves or whatever. You got to be very cautious because it works.
I don't want to buy one. I'll just go totally
Serena's all about growing her behind.
We're 6 foot, man. We've been long, tall drinks of water. We work hard on getting any shape.
Yeah.
My take is that red light, though, like a couple other things, because you were asking about infrared saunas. Infrared saunas are amazing. I have one, of course, in my garage.
Oh, yeah.
There are many out there that give you benefits from them.
Something or other. I don't know. It's from Arizona. An Arizona
Good
company.
job.
Yeah, they're all really good, but as far as like the actual red light that you get from the infrared saunas, it's not the same as like medical grade.
Could we put ourselves in it without our butt?
Question. That's weird.
Yeah.
But question. What about these special red light things for your face then? We don't want to lose fat pads on our cheeks, even if it makes our skin tight.
Most of those, like even the Trifecta, they have it. The intensity is dramatically lowered.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about the Trifecta is they have an actual wave, a modulating wave frequency that is dependent on what you program, right? So you don't have to do fat loss.
Oh.
So if you just want to do healing, see, that's the thing. And this is the reason they're 60,000, 120,000. I'm not kidding you. They have people that have suffering severe autoimmune diseases and dysregulation who are healed after 1 month of using that.
Hey, can you use it all day long? Like if you shared it between like 50 families and you all went in?
Yeah.
Like, are they
I mean, it depends on the
professional that way?
life cycle. I mean, some of these technologies definitely do have like an unstoppable life cycle. I mean, all you have to do is replace the bulbs at some point and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, it's not that expensive relative to actually paying for the device, but red light is truly a miracle.
Hey, I've got.
But again, it's
No,
Yeah,
my
okay,
turn.
you got to
your
have the
turn.
right form.
My turn. Okay, so we got 5 minutes, and it's
We just have
definitely
to do this again, Jay,
Yeah.
Mr. Campbell, because
I'd love to come on. You guys ask the best questions of
Okay,
almost
but-
anyone I've ever spoken to, so I will come on whenever you
okay,
ask
and we're
me.
used to butting in because we're Campbells, and
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
Campbells
No,
do.
I mean, you guys are amazing. I mean, this has been so good. It's so high level.
Hey, but the 5 minutes, I got this because we're going to go back to diet here for a minute. And listen, I read your Shreds book. I mean, wow, you're the geek of geeks. I loved it. We don't have to agree on every little thing. Fasting for women, we're a little bit, wary of that. But like you said, you couldn't do this 2 or 3 years ago with peptides. You've used it about as safely as you can. And you even gave a little thing about, hey, let's be cautious if you're a woman. And I'll, so I
100%.
respect you for that. I do want to talk about, though, what you said. I'm going to quote you because I loved this. You talked about getting emotionally attached to one specific type of diet, and you said no better example comes to mind than the ketogenic diet. If you're wondering how I can make such a bold proclamation, I'll share some industry inside information. I was one of the main crash test diets and dummy diets in my 20s for Lyle McDonald's ketogenic dieting book, released in 1998, the first one in the world. And you did a ketogenic diet for 3 years. And it took 6 months after stopping the keto diet to restore your insulin metabolism to normal. And you would have trouble functioning whenever you ate carbohydrates. I have to think, as a young male, what does it do to more sensitive women? I mean, women our age.
It's bad.
Yes.
It's really bad. And look, I want to address what you just said about fasting because I'm very open about this.
Yeah.
Women are not evolutionary biologically designed to fast.
Right.
Women are the nurturers.
Yeah.
You guys were around the nest. You were around the kids.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are eating every 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 hours, whatever it was. And then you also have to deal with blood type levels, right? Like Dr. Peter Diamo in his book, The Blood Type Diet, he was the guy that first theorized this, but I know it's true now because I've tested this out with people that I've worked with. The closer your ethnicity to the equatorial pole or plane, the more apt you are to be insulin efficient. So you were growing up in an environment where you reached up and the food was plentiful in the bushes and the trees and the plants versus someone like us, right? We're Irish, Northern European, that type of descendants. We were feast or famine. We went long times without. So depending on your genetic, ethnic origin, and then also the way you're trained, because obviously epigenetics, environment's more important than any of that stuff. You can train yourself to fast, but women, because again, you guys have hormonal issues and you have obviously perimenopause, postmenopause.
And we want enough body fat
pre-
so that we can preserve our bone. We don't want to go much under 20. Yeah, okay, sorry. Go back to Pearl.
Tell us about not eating carbs. And you are very wise about your carbs. You keep them.
And I love how you say too, so important to eat your carbs when you're a person who avidly exercises, because too many people, they exercise, they do lifting or they do HIIT, carb starved or even in a fasted state, and then they're just eating up their muscle tissue. It's like they're working out for no reason.
Yeah, people don't understand that. That's like one of the things that, I learned from. And again, I always have to say this, I give all the credit to the people who mentored me because I've had amazing teachers that taught me this kind of stuff. But the average person in the fitness industry has no understanding of energy systems. Even the leading people, the leading authorities that recommend weightlifting and stuff like that, they teach people, women and men, to train in really low rep ranges, like 4 to 6 or 3 to 5 or 6 to 8 or whatever. They are completely ignoring the energy systems that require lactic acid production and growth hormone release and all these things. So it's like, if you don't train in all these different rep ranges, you're never going to build an amazing physique. But to your question about fasting and carbohydrate consumption, the great Charles Poliquin, may he rest in peace, used to say, you get your carbs when you deserve them. And you deserve them when you do enough production of energy, force production from lifting or maybe even in a marathon or whatever it is, where your body is now glycogen depleted and you need to refill your muscle glycogen stores and your liver glycogen stores. So, all these people that are big time into keto or carnivore or, just super low carb, and they go forever without refilling their body's carbohydrate stores, again, muscle glycogen stores, that causes all sorts of insulin metabolism
I
issues.
heard that
again.
like they can like say, oh, you know, they'll just go and even if they have a clean carbohydrate like a sweet potato after being a long time on keto, even actually just a few weeks, that sweet potato is like spiking their insulin like a donut or something because
absolutely.
they just
it's horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
I love these.
You're retarding your insulin metabolism, and it's really, really bad long term because you're creating a blood sugar issue for your body. Your body has to have a combination of proteins, fats, and carbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you literally deplete or devoid yourself of a certain ones, which again, for people in carnivore and keto, they don't eat carbohydrates. The other thing is that most people who do those diets don't do them right?
Yeah.
Like an actual ketogenic diet is like 17% protein. And the rest is fat. And these people are just like eating tons of hamburgers and tons of protein. And so their body ends up making protein from
it does.
Gluconeogenesis, which
Yes.
is a highly inefficient metabolic process,
Yes.
but it does work. And the problem is that then those people actually overconsume and they don't lose any weight. So it's like just a whole rigmarole. But as you both know from the book, because I know we're getting to the end of this, people just have to literally understand what metabolic efficiency is, or really just what we call my brain just melted down. What is the term?
Flexible? Metabolic flexibility?
Metabolic flexibility. Couldn't think. Metabolic flexibility, which is you eat relative to your energetic demand. So if
Right.
you're lifting weights,
Yeah.
then your body, and you're doing it productively, your body is going to require carbohydrates. If you never lift weights, which I don't recommend that, but if you never lift weights and you're just like an ultra athlete, like triathlete person, then maybe you can get by with less carbohydrates and you can eat more fat, higher fat and lower protein. So you just have to understand how your body fuels itself and then eat.
I
relative
love
to
these
that.
lines from your book. It was so profound. You said no diet will be successful long term if it deprives you of specific fuel sources. As a dynamic, self-regulating organism, your body will crave homeostasis and seek balance over time. I love
100%.
that. I think it's so profound. But I have a question about myself. Okay, so I lift about 4 times a week. I've got still 7 children at home and lots of grandchildren all over the place, running around, doing this business too. And I'm a fast metabolizer. So it would be crazy for me to even pull down carbs on days I'm not lifting, right? Because I'm just running around and I'm burning and I don't have a lot of body fat. So people in that state, I mean, we should be celebrating carbs, correctos, in your mind?
I mean, yes, but with the caveat of the right carbs.
Oh,
right?
I'm
Because
all
it's
into
real
gentle
easy to eat.
carbs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really easy to just, eat crappy carbs. And look, I very honest, I created the diet because I wanted people to have something where they didn't have to meal prep.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to get like anal retentive and freak out like on Sunday, like, most people, and like prep all your meals or have the meal company make all your food and it comes to your house in the, in the plastic gift wrap. Like I wanted people just to be like, okay, this is real. I can just eat on the training day, and my next day I don't eat until I have a meal at late in the afternoon. And the other thing is, and we didn't write enough about this in the book, we do mention it, but if you just eat by circadian rhythm, right, which is the ancients, you eat when the sun comes up and you don't eat when the sun goes down. And you have 3 to 4 hours of digestion before you go to sleep from your last meal, you'll still be in shape and you'll be metabolically regular and you'll be insulin efficient. But the problem is, because of technology, because of everybody's got a hack sleep and they're on at all times, people are eating at 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and then going to bed an hour later with food in their digestive tract. That doesn't work. That's what causes inflammation. That's what's causing all the issues we have in human health
We're
today.
big breakfast eaters. Like when the sun comes up.
But, Serena, I have to say we're all so different. You recognize this. I love the way you talked about body types too, but we don't have another hour, but we could talk about body types for a long time because I'm like the total ectomorph. She's a mesomorph. You're probably a mesomorph, are you?
I'm actually probably more of a combo of an ecto-meso, but I definitely have endomorphic tendencies because like in my family, my mom's side of the family is they all become obese if they don't really take care of themselves.
Right,
so
yeah.
most people are a combination of two. The scientists will say we're all a combination of 3, but I see most people are usually a combination of 2. And the cool thing is, depending on your training, you can actually change your somatotypical expression. So you can become more muscular and more insulin resistant, or not resistant, but more insulin sensitive by the type of training that you perform.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm doing to myself. But I've always been low muscle person until I decided to get real, Pearl, and build some muscle, or you're going to die a frail old lady, you know. So but with that said, Serene's a typical meso, high metabolism, strength trains, but Serene's like, you know, if she doesn't eat before bed and it's always just protein, you always say like, she loses too much weight. She can't sleep. Her body is like food, and
shaky.
She's female, and you know, so I guess we're all different, but most people like me, I don't do well eating right before bed. I know it's not for me. You know,
but I mean, it does depend. Like for someone like her, obviously she's very mesomorphic.
Yeah.
As long as she's eating like low fat.
Yeah.
I just eat casein before bed.
Nutrient dense, you know, high protein. Her body will metabolize and assimilate that while she's sleeping. But again, the problem for most people is they eat thick meals of, you know, either moderate glycemic carbohydrates and fat. And for your listening audience, this is another one too that's really good, is fruit. Over-consuming citrus fruit is like eating candy bars. Like, it is so bad for you. So the other thing is, and this is again very little known, and I learned this from Lyle in the first book, but fructose is rate limited enzymatically in the human body. So we cannot digest that much citrus fruit. What does that mean for the average person? You probably can eat an apple and a half a day and not store it as triglycerol, which then becomes stored in the active form of triglyceride, which is visceral body fat, which is in the places that we don't want it. I mean, women in the butt and hips, and men in the belly. So a lot of people, especially women, they overconsume fruit, and they really have to be very cautious. If you're going to eat fruit, a lot of it, make sure it's very high fiber fruit.
Yeah, I mean, that's
great.
And
I believe in the high fiber. Pearl and I, you know, we're cousins to you, so we're just going to say, hey, like, I agree with so much of it, but then there's so much out there where you just can get to be like, well, what is there to eat? You know what I mean? And and I'm one of those believers that if the good Lord put it on the earth, you know, it's got its fiber in it.
That's exactly right.
And you don't get excessive or abusive.
Yeah,
that's what my statement is, by the way. It says if God didn't make it, you shouldn't eat it.
Yes.
No, it's so
if it's
true.
in a box and it's in a grocery store, it's got contaminants and byproducts and stuff that our body cannot assimilate or absorb correctly. I mean, all GMO food is a poison.
Yes. Yeah, no, we agree.
I mean, not to say it doesn't taste good, because we all have eaten it. You know, I'm not going to sit there and not eat those pretzel chips at Costco sells.
But it's when you get into
not good for you.
It's when you get into the extremes, like when you can't eat meat and dairy or whatever you know it is, then you're going to overconsume fruit. I mean, when you have an apple on a salad, that's great. Or whatever.
Exactly. But I see a lot of people. Yeah. You'll see a lot of people eating citrus fruit all day long and say, "Oh, but I just eat fruit," and you're like, "Dude, that's a lot of sugar.
Yes,
that's
it's
a
true.
lot
Well,
of sugar."
as a vegan plant food raw foodist, I was completely filled with fermented sugar in my colon.
Yeah.
I had and I actually gained weight around the middle, and I was emaciated everywhere else.
That's exactly right. That's what happens, because the visceral body fat is deposited right there in the lower ab region. And it builds up, and that's where the fermentation. You probably had all sorts of stuff going on.
I had all sorts. Hey, I've got one more question.
You do?
It's personal, but I just want to ask about it. And the listeners probably don't even care a hoof about it. But what do you think about Clomid instead of testosterone therapy for people who still care about their fertility? Do you think after long-term Clomid use, could it have too much sex-binding hormone globulin and bind their free testosterone to bound? And then what's your thought about Clomid? Do you know much about it, clomiphene citrate or whatever?
Okay. Who put you up to that question?
My husband was on Clomid because we were wanting to I'm just a big baby lover, like total gush over every baby. And I had 5 miscarriages in a row. And I'm like, I just want to finish strong. I don't want to finish on all these disappointments where I didn't get to hold the baby. So we were trying to preserve our fertility till the end. But then he was on Clomid. But then every time we went to the hormone specialist, she's like, your free testosterone is becoming more bound. Your sex hormone binding globulin.
Yeah.
He had over 1,000 on his total testosterone. Yeah. But his free was very low. And so we just switched
honestly, I'm going to clip this answer. Hopefully I do it right, because it's literally probably the best question that anyone has ever asked me in literally hundreds of podcasts about clomiphene / Clomid and the importance or non-importance of using it as one ages to preserve fertility. So it's a really difficult question to unpack from a standpoint of I'm going to layer it, and I hopefully have a couple minutes. Clomid does increase FSH and LH, right? So follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, which are both necessary to keep spermatogenesis continuing in a male. Obviously, they're both female fertility medications, and they're also used in vitro and in vivo and all of these other things, like when a couple is trying to conceive in their late 30s and early 40s. So they have a lot of they're multifactorial in their use. Here's the problem with clomiphene for men.
Okay.
If it's used in isolation, which a lot of times it is now given in isolation for testosterone optimization therapy, and of course to maintain fertility, it does exactly what your physician noticed, which is it lowers free testosterone and increases total. But the question is, or not the question, but the concern is when you have a lot of total testosterone and low free, you don't have a lot of testosterone that's available for the body, right? Because the free is the only thing that's unbound and obviously efficacious or available for assimilation in the body. So over time, clomiphene is not a very good option. Now, I will say that if you're going to choose something for long-term fertility maintenance, in addition to using therapeutic testosterone, HCG is better than clomiphene for that specific reason, because it's not as pronounced/profound in its effects as clomiphene is. The other thing about clomiphene is side effects. There are people, a lot of men get vision issues using clomiphene. It's a very known side effect. And then the other thing is they become very sensitive.
Yeah.
Don't watch.
Is that why I've been arguing with my husband lately?
Don't watch The Notebook.
You're gonna cry
because you'll start crying spontaneously. But HCG in a very low dose.
Do you take HCG along with testosterone therapy, or because what about?
Yes.
I have a son too that's been on cancer treatment, and he needs some. He's been starting on Clomid thinking that would help. He's in his 20s. He wants to preserve his fertility, but he'd been on lots of rounds of chemo,
So first off, when this show's over, I'm giving you guys my cell phone number.
Okay, good.
So
yes. I want to ask you about Proviron.
Your questions are so good. I want to answer them if I can, but obviously I'm perfectly willing to help you guys. And I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff we can do together.
We're just making our audience listen to our personal questions now. So we'll let you go. You have been great.
These are questions that really help people.
Yeah.
So HCG, and this is another mistake that most clinicians make, is it doesn't need to be used all the time. Now, so a lot of doctors are going to prescribe it as like regular, right? So if a man's taking 3 injections of testosterone a week, they're going to be like, oh, well, you should inject the HCG every other day. That's too much.
Yeah, my husband did that, and he didn't feel great.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason that is because it's too estrogen and androgen spikes. Even though testosterone is the bigger one, you're creating like this, endocrinological perturbance where it's like, what's what and what's other. So the body becomes dysregulated. You get acne, mood alterations. He doesn't feel good. So the best way to take HCG so you avoid that is literally 2 or 3 shots the entire month. And I would say, and again, it depends on what you're doing, whether you're on the transscrotal cream, at the base of your scrotum, or you're on the injections. But if you're on injections, I would take it at the end of the 2nd week, 1 at the end of the 3rd week, and then 1 in the middle of the 4th week, or just 2. Again, it depends on how fertile myrtle you want to remain. The other thing is
this is really, really good info ladies and gentlemen.
The other thing is testicular volume. So some men are all into like, I want fluffy, sacky, hangy scrotum, whereas other guys are like, no, I don't care about that. I just want to maintain some fertility.
Yes.
So you're going to want to use 3 shots probably. And by the way, the dosage, because somebody's going to hit you on that.
Yeah, I was already thinking that.
Isn't it 500 or am I wrong?
It's like 200 to 300 IUs per shot,
Remember
which again
that
on an insulin needle is tiny amount.
Yeah.
This is seriously a microdose.
Yeah.
This is a very serious microdose. Now, bonus answer to a question that we didn't answer is, Jay, what is the fertility stack?
Yeah.
And the fertility stack is in the TOT Bible, but we've actually improved it. The only thing you would do to add to the fertility stack is to add HMG, which is human menopausal gonadotropin. HCG is human chorionic gonadotropin. but HMG at double the dose of the HCG. So whether you're using 200 or say 300 IUs, you're going to double the HMG to that. And look, you only need to do that for like 2 weeks straight.
Oh, mate.
Can I
I
ask-
got
You
to
will
get
be
this
brutal,
like
brutal.
personally written down on a piece of paper.
Well, yeah, just call me
Yeah,
and I'll give
I
it
need
to
to
you.
get it
I have
deep.
it.
This is so good. Hey, thank you for your time. You've been amazing. We want to have you on again because we can like Cuzzy talk for
We
another
can
hour.
nerd it out, mate.
I mean, I'm definitely going to have to fly and come see you guys. Where are you guys right now?
We're in the middle of the ticks and the hicks of the woods.
We're in Tennessee.
Hickman
We're
County.
sitting in a barn. It doesn't look
I'm
like
in
a barn.
Tampa, and I'm in Tampa.
We love Florida,
We're
though.
going to be
We
getting
love
together
Florida.
soon.
You need to come right here to our farm and sit up here in this barn with us, and it will be such a blast.
I would absolutely love to do that. 100%.
Thank you. Thank you
Wonderful.
so
Thanks, Jay.
much. Okay.
So let me just give you guys this. So for people watching this, if they want access
Yes.
to like any of my
we were
books
meant to
for
be
free-
professional and do that. Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's okay. It's,
no, let
it's
me
just
do it for
Jay-
you. Let me set you up. That was the worst interviewers in the world.
I'll
Thanks
thank
for
you and you
editing.
thank me.
Hey, for anyone who wants to know more about Jay Campbell and his awesome website, which I was on there last night wanting to do all your courses, I wanted to do the one on how to do.
Peptide demystified.
No,
I'm gonna
functional
send it to you guys.
fitness.
You guys aren't paying for any of that.
I'm
Give
going to
me a
learn
good
how
deal.
my form is horrible. You're going to teach me how to do lifting form. Okay, now tell us the name of your website.
Yeah, it's just Jay Campbell like the soup.com. And then the free, all my books are free except the 30 days to shreds. Cause I'm very big about helping people. It's jcampbell.com/free books. And they can download a PDF version of all the books. And most of the books now too are also available. The audio version is available for free too.
Oh, I
You're
love it. That'll be
amazing.
important for my husband. That's
You
how
are
he listens to
generous,
books.
Jay.
Yeah, you are.
With your time.
Giving back. It's all
as
about
well.
giving back. That's the only purpose we're here is to evolve and grow our souls, right?
So
Yay.
true. That's good stuff, mate. Thank you so much.
See you, Jay.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Bye.